Today is my day. No one will get in my way. I am here on purpose. I have a purpose. All things. I will no longer stay at this mountain. I'm done losing. I will no longer play second place. And when you make that one decision, I believe that the God we serve will move heaven and hell to help you win. And I believe that a lot of you in here today, you could create your own miracle in your life tonight. All right, guys, what's going on? This is Coach JC, and you are listening or possibly watching the Win All Day podcast show. Man, I don't know why you tuned in today, but I'm super excited, and we have an amazing guest on this show, and I cannot wait to introduce her. But first, if you are a frequent listener or viewer, then you know that we believe in the power of your words, and we have our Win All Day winning confession. If it's your first time, don't get scared, but I just need you to repeat after me. And don't ever forget, you can always download these cards over at our website. This is the Win All Day winning confession. So here it goes. Today is my day. Nothing will get in my way of me being the best version of me. I am here on purpose. I have a purpose. I am strong. I am passionate. I am fearless. I choose faith. I was born to win. I will win and win all day. Yes, come on, baby. You are here listening to the Win All Day podcast show. I am Coach JC, your host. And as you can see, I am joined by a beautiful, amazing young lady chilling, drinking on her tea or whatever she's drinking on. She might share that with you home in her living room. Just got done with a workout. Please help me welcome to the Win All Day podcast show, the one and only Danette May, baby. What is going on?
Oh my gosh, that was the best introduction ever. And all your energy is through the roof. I do all these all the time, and I'm like loving this. So your audience is so lucky to have you. It's amazing.
Come on. I'm super excited to have you. And we are going to jump right in because I do like to have a lot of energy. I know that you have a lot of energy, and I am believing that every word that's spoken today, that whoever's watching, whoever's listening, that through your words, through my words, through the next few minutes, that they tuned in and they are here on purpose, and that lives will never be the same, that lives are going to be radically changed. And we're going to be able to share this vision, this mission that you have called the Rise Up. So before we go there, I know you're excited. I'm excited, but I want to just give you a brief introduction. And here's what I'm going to do, because I was given your book as a gift. I'm just going to read exactly what the intro is and your bio on your book. And then I'm going to hand it over to you, and you could just basically tell everybody who you are. So here's who Danette May is. If you're listening, you ever heard of her? Maybe you have, and you're super stoked to be here. Danette May is the founder of Mindful Health LLC and the Rise movement. She is a world-renowned motivational speaker, best-selling author, and former celebrity fitness trainer, as well as a wife and a mother. She has shared her unique, inspiring message on such places as Access Hollywood, Hallmark Home and Family, and CBS. Danette has changed the physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual lives of millions of people around the world by focusing on healing foods, healing movement, and healing mindset. She teaches students how to transform the muck of their lives into inner motivation, empowering them to love the bodies they live in and love the life they live. So without further ado, one more time, please welcome Miss Danette May. Come on, girl.
That's awesome.
Super excited you're here. I am holding your book in my hands. And before I even hand it over to you to tell everybody who you are a little more in depth than just your bio, I just want to tell you that I believe that you're here and on this podcast, and it's a divine appointment. I did not know who you were, and maybe I am living under a rock, or maybe it's because I'm a dude and your movement is mostly geared towards ladies and women. But somebody sent me this book, and they sent me a note, and they said, Coach JC, I believe you need to meet this young lady, and she needs to know you. She has a movement that's changing the world. You have a movement that's doing amazing big things and changing the world. And I read about her story, and I know your story, and I know what she's doing. I know what you're doing. And I just feel like there's an amazing synergy. And I believe that your audience on the Win All Day show would love her. So we don't have a ton of guests on this show, but when we do, they are here on purpose, and it's divine appointments. So Danette May, we are excited to have you. Now I would love for you to take the time to tell the listeners and the viewers, who are you? Like, how did we get here today? Where you come from? What are you about? Give us an overview and let us in the world of Danette May.
Well, what an honor to be here, and how beautiful, divine the world is and the universe is, because someone gave you that book. Like, I didn't know who you were, you didn't know who I was, and we are now connected, and everyone's going to benefit from this. And this is how this works. And I think it's important for people to understand this, because this is like the whole sum of my life, I feel like.
Yeah.
And I didn't know I was going to be on live. So you guys, my book is raw and vulnerable. And I guess it's just par for course for me to not know I was going to be on video, to get done with the workout, sit on my floor in my family room and drink my cacao, because that's just how it should go down, right? So you guys, I want to just share, like, unapologetically, because so many of us are hiding behind our light and not really sharing all the juicy good stuff that we're doing in the world. And so I want to be unapologetic, to give you permission to be unapologetic as well in your light, because I'm so blessed to be able to live this life today of truly impacting millions of people. I can't even believe I'm saying this. I have an empire of 68 full-time employees around the world.
Wow.
We inspire. We have an email list of almost 2 million now. It's absolutely mind-blowing to me. So I'm unapologetic about it, because I know where I've been. And where I was about 5-6 years ago is I had gone through the loss of my son, which took me down into a rock bottom, which ultimately was my gift. And I believe we all have these refiner's fires. We all have these opportunities. I call them opportunities because they are. They're painful, they're refiner's fires, but they help you sift into the true character of who you are. And then I unraveled more truths into the relationship I was in at that time, found myself literally bank accounts shut down, digging through couches, drawers with my 2 daughters, single mom with $47 to our names. And that is all not fun, right? That sounds terrible. And it was, but what was really the saddest part of all of that was the negativity that was raging in my mind at that time about my unworthiness, the impact I was going to have on my children, how I was a financial ruin, I was a mess, I wasn't going to amount to anything. That to me was the saddest part of that journey. And I'm so grateful that I took radical ownership and radical truth-telling with myself at that time, because in literally 5 years, it's turned into this 8-figure business of really inspiring millions of women around the world to rise up into their fullest expression. I've just taken my mess and I've made my message.
Wow. I absolutely love it. I appreciate you sharing some of your story and your beginnings. And, I think it's powerful because we all have a story that we create for ourselves, right? I had my story, and now I'm learning more about your story and what happens in life when that story that you create, that you orchestrated, like the person I'm going to marry, the life I'm going to live, the business I'm going to have, the amount of money I'm going to make, the house I'm going to live in. We all do that as human beings. And then what happens when that story is turned upside down? When you hit rock bottom, when you go through a trial like you did, adversity, obstacles hit. And I heard you say something, and I would love for you to elaborate on that, is, when that story got rattled for you, what did you do to say, you know what? I am going to go and recreate a new story. The story that I had created for myself, man, I had a tragedy, a death in my life. I went through a divorce. And then what was the breaking point for you where you said, hold up, wait a minute. My life's not over. I'm here on purpose. I'm going to go create this new story that leads to transforming millions of lives. Talk to us about that moment in your life.
Well, let me just say this too, and I love the way you said story, because it's a huge mission of mine that we stand on top of our stories, because so many of us are sitting inside of our stories. And so write down right now, what is the story I'm telling myself? Yep. And I write this down every day. I ask myself, what is the story I'm telling myself? Because you tell yourself stories if you invite a lover or a friend to coffee and they say no. You create maybe drama around that. You do stories, right? We create stories. And so it doesn't matter if you've lost a son or gone through divorce or someone just turned you down from a coffee date. You're creating stories. So for me, it wasn't like I just woke up and was like, I wish I could say that. I had this profound moment of going, oh my gosh, I've got to rewrite this story. But what I did do, and which I believe was my gift, is I was in so much pride at the time. I didn't tell anyone about my financial situation. I had removed all friends from me. So I never went out. I wasn't going out. I was in a home, sleeping on the floor, no TV, literally using the Wi-Fi through the walls of the neighbors. So I really only Googled motivation on YouTube. I did inspiration in the search engine and motivation, and that's what I listened to. I didn't listen to TV. I wasn't scrolling social media. I wasn't listening to friends or family. I was just in my own vortex, and I found that every person that I looked up to that I felt was doing big things in the world all had the same formula. Success leaves clues. Yes. And I was like, whoa, if they did this and every single one of them had massive chaos, every single one of them had massive pain, this is my opportunity. Like, I have massive chaos, I have massive pain. What can I do with this? And it was this beacon of light for me at that time to know that if they could do it, I could too. And I just did the things they said to do. And now that's what I teach people to do as well. It's like, we just have to keep carrying the torch.
That's so powerful. And, we call it, in the personal development world or business world, they call it modeling, right? You don't have to go recreate the wheel. Go and find somebody that's already done it, model what they did. And now I know, just talking to you for the last few minutes, why whoever sent me this book, this person, this individual, that they basically said, your stories are very similar. Because I can relate. I was exactly there. And I want you to talk about the pain, right? I think you said a few things. A lot of times in life when we have that story and we're in such pain, and a lot of these people that you looked up to and were Googling, and now people are looking up to you, and they're motivating you at the time, and now you're motivating people. I always encourage people to truly understand that people make decisions for one of two reasons: pleasure or pain. You were at such a painful time. I don't want to take you back there and relive that, obviously, but you were experiencing, like, it was do or die moment. It was this sense of urgency, like, oh my gosh, like, I'm hitting rock bottom right now. I have no money. I had a death in the family. So talk to me about, did that pain that you were experiencing contribute at all while you're watching motivational videos on Google and YouTube? Did that pain have anything to do with you breaking free and moving on?
Absolutely. That's why I say your pain is your gift. And truly, the pain is your gift, but also your pain stems from your story. You need to understand this, that it's not the circumstances that are creating the pain, it's the story you have around your circumstances. So if you can change that story to, this is happening for me, and we hear this, and these are buzzwords, but truly take that on a cellular level, you have an opportunity to completely shift your life in a direction that creates happiness. We're only just searching for happiness, ultimately, a sense of belonging and a sense of love. So for me, to me, the pain is the gift because it was in my rock bottom. I had all these stories around what I thought I believed, right? I was following a paradigm that I was raised with, and a lot of us are. We just are. We're conditioned from a young age to believe certain things, the type of relationship we think we should have, the kind of money we think we should have, the kind of vacations we should have. And I was just operating off other people's paradigms. And when you hit your rock bottom, it's like nothing matters anymore. You're there. Like, you've dismantled all the paradigms and the dreams everyone had for you. So then you have an opportunity to just strip it and go, what is my truth? What is the thing that lights me up? What kind of relationship do I want? Do I really believe in this religion or not? What do I really believe in? And for me, that was my gift, because then I could tune into what Danette felt, what Danette believes.
So powerful. And I can honestly, 100%, I'm putting this out there, I'm guessing, but tell me if I'm wrong, that there had to be at least one of those motivational videos, at least one that was a Tony Robbins video.
Absolutely. And I probably mimic a lot of what he says, because truly, when you type in inspiration, he's going to pop up. Wayne Dyer, popped up, Oprah, Lisa Nichols, they all popped up.
Yeah. And it's funny because Danette, when you were talking, I was thinking about how you said, what is the truth, right? And I'll never forget, just really like 30-second Cliff Note version, so you understand how I'm relating with you right now. And I know our audience, some of them heard my story, some of them have not. But when I was $400,000 in debt, suicidal, face down, desperate, oppressed, threw away my story to actually play basketball at the Division I collegiate level, hopeless. And I came across two books that changed my life. One was the Bible, and one was Tony Robbins' Awaken the Giant Within. And I read his book, and in there and throughout some other stuff, I remember like it was yesterday. There was one quote where he said, the meaning of anything in life only has the meaning that you choose to give it. And I had an interaction with a police officer that pulled me over 12 a.m. in the morning, late at night, right? I'm going 100 miles an hour. I'm desperate. I'm down and out. I'm weeping, and I'm just, suffering at the moment. I was thinking about taking my life at that moment. And the police officer had an interaction with me, and he said these words throughout the dialogue. He said, I just want to let you know that everything you're going through right now, it has to happen, and it had to happen for you to become who you're going to become. And I remember I'm thinking, who is this guy? He must be crazy. He has no idea what I'm going through. And that resonated with me. And it changed my life when I shifted what the truth was. That the story that I was telling myself here, it was all created by me. And if I created that story, then I could create a new story. And I started just change my perspective, how I view the situation. And I started to tell myself what new truths were. And I started to create a new story. And I started to say, wait a second, what if I gave this whole situation $400,000 in debt, suicidal, in the fight of my life to be a father, throwing away my story to be an athlete? What if I gave that story, new story, and meaning to that situation, what that police officer said, that this really had to happen in my life? And you said that earlier. You said, life doesn't happen to you. Life happens for you. And it's powerful because we hear it a lot. But for me, just saying a different way, this had to happen. This story had to happen. And people would come up to me at that time, and they would say, Coach JC, I'm so sorry for what you're going through. Whoa. I'd say, stop. Don't be sorry for me. Like, this had to happen. And people are like, dude, what kind of drugs are you on? Like, you're suicidal, you're $400,000 a day, and you're telling me it had to happen? I'm like, no, don't apologize to me. So I'm reading your book, and I'm just going through the parts of the book where you talk about your journey, and you talk about self-love, right? And I want you to talk about that, because I know there's a person listening and watching right now that says, man, Danette, I hear what you're saying. Coach JC, I hear what you're saying. Man, I want to win. I want to win all day, man. I want to rise up. And I would love to have a following like Danette has and motivate and inspire people. But I don't know what my calling is and my purpose, because I'm beat up right now. I'm down and out. What did you do when it comes to self-love to come to a true understanding with who you are? Because I know for me personally, it's almost impossible. And it was impossible for me at that downtime to give love the way that I know I wanted to, because I didn't love myself. Right?
Yeah,
What do you do?
Yeah, I think if someone's truly listening and they're like got pennies to rub together, like you and I were, you didn't even have any pennies to rub together. They're kind of like, dude, I can't talk about self-love right now. Like, I got to get food on the plate. Like, I've got to get my life in order. I can't go there that deep yet. And I have to tell you to stop for a minute. Yeah. Because you have to go that deep. And when we throw this self-love word around there out in the world, it's not as big and grandiose as we make it be. And something I've done and I will continue to do, because it's not like you get self-love and you get to keep it forever. It's something you have to get every single day. For me, it's something I have to look at and work towards every single day. So there's a chapter in the book called Small Hinges Move Big Doors. And I love this quote because I love big doors. Like, I love like ornate Balinese doors. I love doors. And the door is the symbolism of everything opening up for your life. But if you look at a big door, there's 3 small hinges moving that door. And so what are the 3 things you can do every single day? Because so many of you are relying on the big break, relying on someone to save you, for God to save you, whatever it is. And where are you going to start taking radical ownership and be your own hero, be your best friend, and say, yes, I'm going to do 3 things each day. And they don't actually have to be so grandiose. They don't have to be so big. And as you step into that every day and you love yourself enough to do those 3 things each day, more self-love comes. It's not like you're just going to get it and you have it forever. You have to do the work every single day.
So powerful.
Yeah. So that's what I did. And that's what I will continue to do. It's not like I'm ever above this. I have to work on it all the time.
Well, and so a lot of times in that, obviously, when you're at a tragedy or a downtime, or maybe you're not. Maybe somebody listening right now is not at a tragedy or downtime, but they just want to be more and achieve more, right? We, a lot of times, human beings, and I talk about winning, and winning's not about winning and losing. Winning is about you being your best. It's about you maximizing your God-given talent every single day. You laying your head on the pillow at night saying, I was the best version of me. What does that mean? I was able to grow and mature in who I am physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, in my relationships, my mission, financially. And I was also able to contribute and give. And I think a lot of times where it's hard for people to do this, Danette, is so many times as human beings, we're moved by what? Emotions, right? So you're down and out where you were. How did you fight the emotions? Because obviously you didn't feel like getting up and maybe exercising or reading or doing the self-love stuff. But how did you say, wait a second, I'm going to choose to not go by how I feel at the moment? Because 90% of the people that I talk to on a weekly basis that come to me for coaching, they're allowing emotions to dictate and determine what they do, and they're getting an outcome they don't want because of that, right?
Yeah. So success leaves clues. And so this is something that every single successful person that I look up to, including Tony Robbins, does and has done, is write out affirmations. So for me, what I did is I literally wrote out a list of, first I had to get radically honest. So I wrote down, and people are afraid to do this because it doesn't always feel very good. And you feel afraid that if you write it down, it will stick as the truth, never ending truth. But until you do this, you can't get to your truth. So for what I did is I took a page and like looked around my home. What is my truth around my living conditions? Like I created this. What is the truth in this moment? What is the truth in my relationships in this moment? I had no friends. Like I was divorced. I'm like, oh, I created this. Awesome. So I'm like writing this down. What's my financial situation? What's my career situation? Am I having any fun? Like what are, in all these different categories. So just wrote them down. So for example, use money because people can really relate with that. So for example, I was like, I have $47 right now, and I have maybe $1,000 that'll come to me next week, and a client that might pay ahead of time. And don't know where the rent's going to come. So obviously I'm not in a good financial situation. So then on the opposite, after you get done, just like exposing your truth, exposing that you created this is where you're at. Then you write out where you know you can go. And it's big and it feels scary and it feels like a lie, but you've got to step into it. So for me, I wrote out like I'm abundant, I'm increasing, and and this is a Tony Robbins, I'm increasing in abundance and I'm increasing and making money whether I'm working, sleeping, or playing. Like I wrote all these things down and I made a commitment that anytime I felt a low vibration or just like crappy or what you would call a racket or just depressed, I would read it. And that at the early days, that was sometimes every 15 minutes. Yep. And I was so committed to truly changing my life. And all these people said the same thing. So I read it, and every time I felt low, read those positive affirmations. And I still do this today. I don't have to do it as frequently. I'm not in pain today. Like I live in high abundance, but you can just take that list and expand on it on a deeper level because we're always rising. We're always expanding. And now I do it after a workout, like when my vibration's really high, after making love, when my vibration's high, like, and it just speed dials manifestation. But in the early days, and and people listening, they might be in the early days, they might be in, and I call it early days because you're not going to be here forever. You're never stuck. You're going to get out. Just know you're going to get out, but it takes you being your hero. Can't wait on anyone else. And just start reading. Just start reading your affirmations of the truth of your soul, of where you're going.
So powerful. As you're talking, I'm actually pulling up to see the dates in my phone when I started to initially put in affirmations. I call them winning confessions. And I'm looking back to all these winning confessions, and I actually have one in here that I know I got from Tony Robbins. And it says, God's wealth is alive in my life. Wealth and riches flow to me like an avalanche. I will walk and operate in overabundance. All my needs and desires, goals, and dreams are met, right? So you talk about success leaves clues, modeling. I went and took, and I think what you said is powerful. I went and took what Tony Robbins already did and put my own little twist on it and put it into my notes on my phone. And people call them positive affirmations, but I call them winning confessions. But what you're really doing is you are training your subconscious mind to believe something different than what you might see in the natural at the moment, right?
Absolutely. And we all know from a scientific level that our bodies go the direction of the words we speak. The mind thinks and speaks. So you will go in the direction of what you speak. And we've done this, they've done tests with this with water. They've done tests with this with all the molecules. Like, you're no different. And so I feel like it's like the easiest thing. If we're going to think, I don't know if you have people that are religious, but I think of like that Bible story where he's holding up the staff and he's like, you just have to look at it to change your outcome. And people wouldn't look at it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it's like the same for us. Like, we have these tools and a lot of us are just not doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. We do. Yeah, we have people that listen to this podcast from all walks of life. Everybody on this podcast that listens and follows me, they know what I stand for. I'm very big in faith. I told you in the beginning that what changed my whole life, basically saved my life, was the Bible, the Word of God, and a Tony Robbins book. And that got me started on what I knew my calling was to be. So we definitely, I believe in faith. And I think a lot of times what you just said is powerful. Faith comes by hearing, right? And a lot of times you have to become the best salesperson, the best coach, the best mentor in your life. You know, there's not going to be always that person or those people telling you what you need to hear at the moment, but you can train yourself through affirmations, through winning confessions, to call those things that are not as if they are. And you've done it. You're a walking example of doing it. So I commend you for that. And let's change gears for a second, because you said some things that I think are awesome. But you talked about basically, I call it winning the day, right? If you just win the day, the small, simple, disciplined thing, you talked about that. You don't have to go win the whole game at once, but if you could just win the day and make some forward progress and momentum and create small little wins and victories, it'll lead you to big wins and victories. So let us in the life of Danette May. What do you do? Not back then, right? What do you do now? What do you do now to win your day? Like physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, relationship-wise. Let us in a little.
I love this question because I'm more interested in my now. And here's the deal. I have non-negotiables, and I call them non-negotiables because it doesn't matter if I'm traveling. It doesn't matter where I'm around the world. I travel like twice a month around the world, somewhere new. And here's the deal. Like, I have to have non-negotiables because they are my hinge movements. So one of them is soul writing. And I'll explain a little bit more about that. It's been next level for me in my relationships and in my business. Our business 10x once I started soul writing. The other one is getting out in nature. Like, for me, it does not matter if it's sleeting, raining, pouring, cold. If I'm on a plane, I will step out of security to get out in nature, because to me, nature shows you everything. It brings you back to your remembrance. And it is super healing. Whether you even know it or not, it's healing you on a cellular level. So nature is a non-negotiable. Eating something green every single day, something that came from nature. And I call it green. I guess it could be pink or red, but for me, green symbolizes life. And where it grew from the soil and it got nourished from the sun, then I'm actually putting it inside my DNA. And that's a really big deal to me. And then I don't necessarily have a non-negotiable to move my body every day. I pretty much move my body every day because I get out in nature every day. But I feel that movement, I don't give myself that strict one because for me, I always operate like I know that I'm going to move. Like, it's not like I have to even tell myself that, because I've gotten to a place where I've been like, I know what's on the other end of movement. Like, if I go exercise and work out, it's like clearing the cobwebs of your soul. Like, I am so much more grounded, less anxiety, less everything. Like, I am just like on fire if I work out. And I know everyone can relate to that. And so I'm always surprised that people don't do it, because I'm like, it is like the freest thing you can go do to like elevate your life. But that is not a non-negotiable, but I do tend to work out every single day.
That's awesome. So that's what Danette May does to win the day. I'm super excited. Thanks for sharing with us. And let's dig deeper. Let's go into that. Share a little about the soul writing.
Okay.
10x your business. What is that? How do you do that?
So soul writing basically boils down to intention. So I'm going to use the word soul, which is also one of those big words that people are like, what do you really mean by that? Yeah. It's anything that's you could label it how you want. What's your story around soul? It can be your higher self. It can be God. It can be guides, whatever you feel comfortable calling it. But for me, I feel like there's a higher part of me that's outside of my conscious realm. And so every morning I sit down with the intention to connect with that higher knowing. And I will sit down with my journal, and I literally at the very top, and I think it's more the intention that I start with that is more the most powerful step. And I write down, what would you have me know? And I just write whatever comes up. There's no judgment. There's no, it has to be certain length of, of time, or it has to be a certain topic. Like I really just write whatever comes out without any judgment. And then as I've stepped more and more into trusting this, because when I first started doing this, this was about 2.5 years ago. I remember it was random. It was like, run ads to a Facebook Live, like random. I'm like, oh, weird. And other stuff came up too. And I remember I was like, I'm going to honor this. Like, this is something I'm feeling called to do, is this soul writing. I'm going to honor, seems like an interesting thing. So literally set up the camera that day in a dark kitchen and made a smoothie live and told my team to run an ad to it. We got 8 million views on that. And that was the first start of, and then it turned into 24 million views. It was an influx. Like our business has been 10xing the last 2.5 years. And it started with those Facebook Lives. So,
man, that smoothie must have been a good smoothie.
It was the worst lighting video ever, but it was like this. And so I've gotten more comfortable, right? So you can actually write, what about my relationship? What about hiring this person? And then just see what comes out from that conversation. And just test it out. Like I've gone to my daughter and been like, hey, this came up. Are you feeling this? And she's like, how do you know? Yeah. And so it's really, really powerful.
It's huge. It's powerful. I mean, I'm sitting here and I feel like I am listening and watching. Obviously, the female, like you're way better looking than me. You're
that's debatable.
The female version of me. Like this, I coach people. Like you can go to my website right now. Like even if there's somebody listening or watching, you're saying, well, I want to learn how to win the day. I actually created, Danette, a winning hour when I was at my lowest point. And I strategically put together the small, simple, disciplined things I was going to do every single day, non-negotiables. And now I do it for about 30 minutes because it's rearranged and priorities have changed. But part of that was my quiet time. You're calling it soul writing. And I did a very similar process. And I would seek and I would listen. And for me, I believe in God. I believe in the Holy Spirit. And I believe I got divine like business ideas at those moments. And people say to me, my wife still says to me when we're on vacation, we could be on the beach on vacation, I will still get up every single day. Does not matter. And I do my 10, 20, and 30 increments. It's focused breathing, it's journaling, and it's my quiet time where I just shut up. I ask, and I just shut up and I listen. And my wife's like, you still do that? You've been doing this religiously for so many years. Why don't you just sleep in? I'm like, no, you don't understand. I can't. Like, this is what changed my life. So like, I feel like I'm listening to me, but a better, way prettier voice. So that's absolutely amazing.
It's powerful when we can see the mirror and the reflection in others in what we're doing. And that's so beautiful that someone brought us together, because it's important. Like I can feel your energy too. And it's beautiful because you're impacting people I don't even know about. And and I want to say something about that, because I don't know. I feel like there might be someone listening going, oh, but that can be you, JC, or that can be you, Danette. And I'm like, if you're listening to us and you're like motivated by this or inspired by it or even jealous by it, I'm telling you, it lives inside of you. And there's enough room for all of us to be sharing this information. And it needs to be shared by as many people who feel the call as possible.
So powerful, so powerful. If you're listening right now, I want to give you that link just so if you need a winning hour, you need to figure out how you're going to start being more productive in the day. It's coachjc.com/winning hour. Free download. It's like 12-page report. I walk you through my entire routine, 1 hour that'll radically change your life. So you can go download that. Danette, take us right now to Danette May, motivating, inspiring, changing the lives of millions of people. Predominantly, you have a huge tribe and following of women. We are going to get into the book, and I want to talk about this book, and I want to make sure everybody gets a copy of this book, because just what I've skimmed through is absolutely amazing, and I know it's life-changing. But give us, like, what do you do right now to change lives? Are you speaking? Are you coaching? Is it online, offline? Like, How's this all happening? How are you
Yeah,
changing?
you're catching me at an interesting space in my life. So this year was an interesting year. So leading up until this year, everything's predominantly been online. So we send out an email every day. I put on challenges that bring in 30,000 people every 6 weeks. We have a continuity program. The blog's going, like I said, every day, and we have about 2 million people reading these blogs. And that's been where my energy's been. And then this last year, for some reason, I felt called that I was supposed to do this live event, which I had never done, like a large live event with 2,000 women. And then all of a sudden this book deal from Hay House, like literally was handed to me. It wasn't like I asked for it. I didn't, right? With Hay House. And they said, write about whatever you want, but we want it done in 6 weeks. Because we want to
come on.
book. Yeah, and I, as soon as they had said that, I knew this book had its own wings. It had its own legs. It wasn't really about me. There needed to be a message. And so this year's been a beautiful year of doing a lot of things that I just felt called to do. It was uncomfortable. It wasn't like this huge ROI. It just was what I was supposed to do. And I felt really called to this Rise movement, which the event was absolutely amazing. And the book launch has been absolutely amazing. It's been #1 on Amazon for 4 weeks. Like, I'm watching this amazingness that all looks good, right? But now I'm in this space in this very moment sitting here, and my team came to me because we've had this big leadership team meeting, and they said, what's next, Danette? Like, what's next? Like, they're all excited. Like, what's next? And I'm like, you know what's next is, I know I've been operating in spirit, but if I continue, it's coming from ego. So I actually have been operating from a paradigm of hustle. Like, I'm like the duct tape girl queen. Like, I am gritty as all get out. And I've operated from that because I had to, right? And I've been going and going and going. And I said, my next level, because I'm coaching a lot of leaders and influencers, like I'm speaking at Nelson Mandela's home in 2 weeks to celebrities, influencers for his cause.
Yes.
And so I know where I'm going with that, but at the same time, I was like, I have to stop. Like, I have to see if I can work 2 days a week and then just sit with the stories that might come up from not doing. Am I enough in my not doing? Am I enough? And can I go into those shadows of not producing and see what comes up? Because people like you and me and leaders, we operate in this hustle. Like, we go, go, go. And we have to be careful that we're not operating from this angle of not enoughness.
Yeah.
Doing and hustling because there's this wound of, if I'm not showing up in life, am I enough? And I'm hyper aware of this. So that's where I'm at right now, because I'm being asked to train and to bring leaders together. And I'm like, oh, if I can't heal that part of me, who am I to train them to heal that part of them, right?
I mean, there's a lot of leaders I know, at least that I interact with, that are in that situation, and they're searching still, and they have powerful followings, and they're making impact. I mean, I do a lot of my speaking in the faith-based world. I mean, then there's even leaders in the faith-based world that I interact with, that I'm blessed to coach and mentor and be a part of their lives. And they are at a place where you think everything's awesome, but they are still grinding and hustling and just over the top, relentless about it, still searching for significance.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So I think what you're doing, I commend you, #1, but I think it's extremely powerful to recognize not only am I doing this for Danette May because I know I need to do this and I feel led to do this at this time, this season of my life, but I know without a doubt that this is going to make me a better coach, because there's a lot of people and influencers and leaders that I'm going to have the opportunity to impact. And I got to show them how I was able to do this so they don't get burnt out, so they can continue to have that fire and that drive, because it'll eventually burn you out if you keep going that nonstop, rat race of, I've got to be successful, I've got to reach more, I've got to do more. I've seen it happen a lot, where a lot of influencers get burnt out, and then all of a sudden they don't love their passion,
Yeah. And ultimately, it doesn't matter where you're at, because we're all just trying to live out to the fullest expression of who we are. And when we say that, to me, that means the fullest expression of what my soul wants. And if I can tap into that, it doesn't matter what anyone else thinks I should be doing or shouldn't be doing, or if they like something I produce or don't like something I produce, because my only job is to live in my soul's fullest expression. And for me, I'm committed to that right now. And I'm really checking into that right now, because that's a space of massive peace. knowing
How
that I'm just doing what I'm asked to do and not because I'm supposed to, or I want to be significant, or I want it to appease someone. Because, and to me, that's what I'm going for. And I believe everybody wants that. And so just trying to model what people would ask me to coach them on is like, I got to go there and do it.
so powerful, Danette, so powerful. I commend you for that. I'm excited for this season of your life. And I know that, God's going to bring big things through this, and you're going to continue to seek and listen and soul search. So I'm excited for you. And I know your impact, that this is just the beginning for you. Even the people that you've touched and you're touching right now, I'm just speaking over your life right now. That's just the beginning. Your best days and even greater days and extraordinary days are even in front of you. More tribes, more masses. You're going to reach and influence a lot of people. And right now, we mentioned the book. That's a way you're influencing people. It's a way to get your story and your message in front of a large audience. So your book, I'm holding my hand, Danette May, The Rise, an unforgettable journey of self-love, forgiveness, and transformation. Why did you write this book?
Oh my gosh. This is the easy answer. And then I'm just going to kind of give you guys a little behind the curtain, since we're behind the curtain right now. You guys are seeing me. So when Hay House came to me, which is not like a normal book deal, when they basically said, we would like you to be an author, and what would you like to write on? It doesn't usually happen. I knew I had to ask like my higher self. That was part of the soul writing, is like, what do you want me to write on? And it was interesting. The ego came up, like, write on these programs, coach on this, do this. And I was in Hawaii at the time, and it happened to be, because I go running before the sun comes up. Doesn't matter how late I arrive. Like for me, I'm up when the sun comes up. And I found myself in a sacred burial site I wasn't supposed to be in. And I found out once it got light that I was actually not supposed to be in there. But I was I was called to go in there, so I just went in there. And I was sitting there, and I was like thinking about the book and all the ego thoughts that came up. And it was like, no, you're supposed to write about all the things you don't want anyone to know. Because everyone who is scared to be vulnerable, that's their invitation to self-love. And I found that the more vulnerable we are willing to get, it's a direct conduit to more self-love. And I was terrified. I was like, these stories, I don't know if I should share all these stories. And it was like, no, like, you have to be the example, because if you step into your vulnerability, it gives permission for everyone else. And and so I wanted to write about the mud and the muck. And I also wanted to write about, it's interesting because the mud and muck wasn't the part that scared me. It was my light in today. It was the things that I'm interested in and looking at today. I was afraid to be judged. I was afraid to share all those intimate parts of me that I do in private. And I was like, I'm going to just go for it. And I don't know. A lot of times I think I wrote the book for myself so I can go to my next level and my next rise, but it was the truth of the whole journey of the rise and my personal rise and helping other people find their story and my story.
So is that the goal of the book? I mean, through this book, The Rise, the movement, we're basically helping individuals find their new story, and walk out their calling.
Yeah, there's the essence of the book is for you to rise up into your fullest expression. And that comes through forgiveness. That comes through radical truth telling to yourself mainly. That comes through understanding that transformation doesn't look like meditation all the time and going to a yoga retreat in Costa Rica. Transformation happens when you're driving. Transformation happens when you're cleaning after your child and feeding your child in the middle of the night. Transformation comes all the time. It's like, are you aware of it? So the book really takes you through these stories that we buy into that are simply not true.
Yeah, that's powerful. And so this book right now, I'm listening. I say, man, I need to rise up, Danette. I have a situation that happened to me. It's hard for me to move on. I want to learn how to forgive. I want to learn how to self-love. Why? Ultimately, because I don't want to be conformed to the things that I've been conformed to. And I want to be transformed. And I want to walk out a calling, a destiny. I know there's something out there. How do they pick this book up right now if they're listening? How do they go get a copy of this book?
Well, the book is...
I don't know if they Amazon or what, because somebody sent this to me.
Yeah. You might have got a pre-copy because it just launched.
Oh, really?
Yeah. You might have gotten a pre-copy. I don't know. Like, I'm fascinated by that. But The book is now in Amazon. You can get it wherever you want in Amazon. It's at every Barnes and Noble. If you live in different parts of the world, you can just go to DanetteMay.com/book, and we have different booksellers on that link in the different parts of the world, because we have people on our list that are from Africa and New Zealand and Australia and UK, and you can buy the book in the bookstores that are in that area.
Wow. And so people buy the book, then they want to connect with you. Obviously, they can follow you on social media, a website.
Yep, DanetteMay.com, super simple. And in the book, I give you tons of free resources, like what I did, the foods I ate, the movement I did, the meditations I did. You get all that for free, and that will also help you get into better connection with me. They're at the resources at the back of the book.
Yeah, I'm looking at that. You can visit www.risegifts.com and get the resources and gifts. They can connect with you on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. Instagram's the Danette May. Facebook is the Danette May. YouTube's Danette May. And also the website's Danette May, DANETTEMAY.com, right?
Yeah.
Awesome. So here's what I would like to do. Obviously, we could talk all day long on just the topic of forgiveness or rising up and, self-love. And there's so much that we could talk about. I want to respect your time. I, first of all, value that you took the time to be on the show, even after you now sharing that you're basically taking some time and moving back a little and only working 2 days a week. So I know that this was even more of a luxury to have you on the show as well. And I'm grateful for that. I want to give you the opportunity now to speak to the person on the other side of the camera and just give them the Danette May closer, the finisher. Danette May's here. Whatever you feel led right now at the moment. There's somebody out there listening. They want to rise up in business. They want to rise up in their marriage. They want to rise up in their physical body. They want to be more and achieve more. They listen to this podcast because they want to win. They want to win more in life. They want to be the best version of them. What would Danette May tell those individuals right now listening that can impact their life?
You know what's coming up for me, and I say this super authentically and without just the cliche that we often hear about, but really looking and knowing, like you're listening to this podcast because you want to win all day, and you want to be a winner, and you want to be significant, and you want to make a difference. And the truth is, you already are. You are one in a trillion. Just being here on this earth, the odds of you being born at this time and the DNA that you have and just being here, you're a miracle. You truly are. And so understanding that you are already powerful, that you already have all the DNA remembrance. Every person you look at that inspires you actually lives inside of you. All the ancestors before, all their DNA lives inside of you. So recognizing that you're already powerful, that you're already winning, you just need to unlayer the BS stories that are holding you back to who you truly are and just step into that power that is already there.
Powerful. I love it. Everything you need is already inside of you. We're super grateful. Danette May, great word. Is there anything else that you would like to share or say before we close up the show?
No, other than just I commend you for listening to this podcast. I commend you for being an action taker. Just recognize that inside of yourself and celebrate you for it.
Awesome. Well, again, this is Coach JC, and you are listening to the Win All Day podcast show with our special guest. We are so honored today and grateful to have Danette May grace us with her presence, her wisdom, to learn about her story and her movement, the Rise Up book, The Rise. An unforgettable journey of self-love, forgiveness, and transformation. So, Danette May, once again, we're grateful, we're honored. We are believing for the best for you, that your best days are in front of you. And thank you so much for being on the show. For all of our listeners and our viewers, you know what you need to do. Join next time. Make sure if there's anything we can do for you, follow us on all the great social media. Get over to the website, coachjc.com. And don't forget, you were born to win. Today is your day to win. So go win and win all day.